Martha Stewart is arguably one of the most recognizable faces of DIY. She is the embodiment of poise and elegance as she demonstrates how to make the most memorable dinner parties or how to make your house be the envy of the block during Christmas time. However, in 2002, Martha's cookie-cutter image and her freedom were at risk when she was being accused of insider trading. The jokes immediately followed, and they were relentless. But let's be honest, insider trading was the least of Martha's problems, because Martha Stewart was also accused of being mean.
Is there any truth to these descriptions of you? Are you abusive?
I think that sometimes I may be insensitive, but I have a job to do, and I may sometimes really think that others should work as hard as I work or concentrate as much as I concentrate. But those traits and that behavior, if it were applied to a man, would be admirable. Applied to a woman, she's a beach.
If you're familiar with what's going on with Ellen DeGeneres right now, add the looming threat of prison, and you have an idea of what the early 2000s was like for Martha Stewart. Needless to say, a TV movie had to be made.
Who opened 3 bottles of wine? Do you know how much a good bottle of red wine costs? And for God's sake, did I not ask for Merlot?
Martha Inc. tells the story of Martha Stewart and how she was born into a working-class family with an aggressive father. At an early age, she turned to modeling before eventually becoming a stockbroker, but her true calling occurred when she moved to Connecticut with her husband and daughter, where they purchased a fixer-upper, igniting her knack for DIY that launched her empire today. But wait a minute, something's missing. Where's all the insider trading stuff? Martha Inc. acknowledges the insider trading accusations, but when this film came out, Martha hadn't even been indicted yet, much less charged or sent to prison. What makes this film so interesting is the fact that even though it doesn't give the viewer the story they want, it still finds a way to be very entertaining. And this wasn't an easy task. Martha worked hard for her career, but her climb up the ladder isn't necessarily interesting. She's just savvy and worked really hard. There were the accusations that she's mean, but could that really carry a film? That makes me think of the Leona Helmsley biopic. That film just did a dramatic retelling of how mean she allegedly was, and as much as the Leona Helmsley story fascinates me, this film was like watching paint dry.
There are water droplets on the lettuce. You're kidding. How dare you do this? How dare you do this? The palace does not serve wet lettuce.
So how did Martha Inc. succeed in being entertaining?
I'm a magical person.
Well, let's talk about camp.
No more hangers!
Camp has many meanings, but basically, camp is when something is so over the top you can't help but laugh. Usually camp is an accident. For example, the goal is to make an Oscar darling, but instead we wind up with... Or the goal is to deliver an intense drama, but ultimately we get...
You are tearing me apart, Lisa!
Camp is a beloved subgenre, and it leads to midnight screenings and countless YouTube commentaries. But not all camp is an accident. If you've ever seen a John Waters film, then you've seen camp that's intentional. My favorite example of intentional camp is from the John Waters film Serial Mom, which, by the way, while doing research for this video, I actually found out that John Waters based Kathleen Turner's character on Martha Stewart.
You can't wear white shoes after Labor Day.
That's not true anymore.
Didn't your mother ever tell you? Now you know.
No, please. Fashion has changed.
No, it hasn't.
So basically, Martha Inc. decides to take a menial biography of Martha Stewart and turn it into a camp classic. The film is full of ridiculous imagery. Seriously, look at this. Do you really think this is how she conducted business? Or check out this scene, where she puts a room full of men in their place, and then that scene follows with this.
You know, nut cracking is not as difficult as it seems. Most people just don't know how to use a nutcracker. All you do is put it in, squeeze down, and crack. It's actually very simple.
Cybill Shepherd's acting is at a constant 10. She's either unrealistically hamming it up, or she's a raging lunatic.
Mr. Wielding, since I've been spokesperson for Kmart, things have gone very well for you. I can talk to the customers any way I please, and there's nothing wrong with my tartlets. Oh, I have a meeting.
Oh, hi, Mark.
This movie is not educational. It's not insightful. It's just fun.
Did you know that's how I got my start?
By baking a cake?
If you let me finish, Lily, I'll tell you. Baking birthday cakes and selling them to the neighbors is something I did when I was your age.
When you were 8?
What? I was 9.
The film is based off the novel Martha Inc The Incredible Story of Martha Stewart Living Omnimedia by Christopher M. Byron. And the film remains fairly faithful to the book. However, in my opinion, the book reads less like a biography and more like a really long tabloid article. So make of that what you will. The film does add some artistic liberties. In the film, Martha's in-laws lose their fortune to the stock market, and also, the film implies that Martha and her family move to Connecticut after she ruins her stockbroking career selling bad stock. To the best of my knowledge, neither of these things are true, and I'm guessing these were added as foreshadowing for Martha's current relationship with the stock market. But, like I said, this isn't a movie one would watch for the facts. This is a movie you watch with a group of friends and a bottle of wine. That being said, I don't think going camp was the only option for this film. There's a part in the film where Martha butts heads with the people over at Time Warner, and she wants out of her contract. They agree to let her buy her way out of the contract for $85 million. The film then shows how she's able to come up with the money, and the end result makes her a billionaire. As fun as this movie is, when it comes to this part, I'm genuinely interested. I truly feel that if they made this the actual basis of the movie, it could have been a successful film without the need for camp. In my opinion, the stronger biopics are the ones that focus on a specific part of someone's life, rather than trying to span the entire person's life starting at childhood and summing it up in around 90 minutes. Which is the perfect segue to... That's right, there's a sequel. After Martha Inc. came out, the story people actually wanted to see was ready to be told. And this led to a very different film. Martha Behind Bars documents the events leading up to the charges, the trial, and finally, her time in prison. Not only is the story engaging, so is Cybill Shepherd's portrayal of Martha Stewart. Gone is the campy Martha, and in its place is a much more realistic portrayal as a powerful mogul.
I receive an inordinate amount of calls daily. Luckily for me, my attorneys have brought me up to speed regarding your interest in this particular call. I'll be short and to the point. Peter and I had an agreement to sell my ImClone stock should its value fall below $60 a share, which it did. I merely gave him my approval to do so. After all, it's my stock.
The new writer and new director seem to be interested in making this Martha much more human.
Even though it's painful, I go to see every production of Death of a Salesman because my father was Willie Loman. I so wish he could have had the opportunity to show the world what he could really do.
Now, even though this film is much more reserved than its predecessor, it still offers an occasional nibble of camp.
Any alcohol or drugs in the last 48 hours?
I had a divine 72 Merlot night before last.
Unlike the first film, this one has no book it's based off of. Some things are public knowledge. For example, while in prison, Martha was busted for stashing away sugar, cinnamon, and other foods. Yeah, people had a field day with that one.
You are one risky dame.
That's unfiltered Barbary coast sugar refined off the backs of Persian monkeys! Damn you!
It's also confirmed that Martha helped a group of inmates with a Christmas decorating contest, and she did end her sentence by walking out in front of the press while wearing a poncho crocheted by a fellow inmate. Doing research for this video, I also checked out a book called Being Martha, The Inside Story of Martha Stewart and Her Amazing Life by Lloyd Allen, and it seems to confirm a lot of the plot points in this movie, although I feel I should mention that this book was written by a friend of Martha Stewart with her blessing, so make of that what you will. Martha Inc. is an exploitation film showing someone on the cusp of evil while they rise to the top and fall from grace, and it's definitely a fun watch. Martha Behind Bars is a more dramatic expose, where a realistic yet icy tycoon is set through the ringer, but ultimately comes out a warmer and maybe even happier person.
Come on, Martha, just once. For us, please.
Do you think? It's a good thing.
After prison, Martha Stewart almost immediately got a television show, and instead of trying to sweep her prison sentence under the rug, she actually acknowledged it in the opening credits.
Thank you all for coming. I am unfettered. I am free. No ankle bracelets.
Fun fact, the writer of Martha Behind Bars also has a writing credit on this talk show. What was that day like? Martha doesn't speak fondly of her time in prison, but you know what? I feel everything she went through helped her lighten up. Recently, she started a show with Snoop Dogg, and believe it or not, she's even been able to poke fun of her portrayal in these two movies.
Now, Cybill, isn't it interesting that your career basically ended after that role? As if you defended someone with power, someone with vast resources and money. Who could cook up such a plan? Who could craft such a scheme? It was me, bitch.
Okay, I'm really curious. If you've seen both films, which one did you prefer? Personally, I like the more serious sequel. It just has more layers. But I still gotta love the campiness of the first one. I really hope everyone enjoyed this video. You know, I'm always thinking of movies and shows I'd like to talk about, but it wouldn't exactly work as a video for my channel. So recently I started a page on Facebook, and I decided that I'm going to use this page to post old school text reviews of films that I really want to talk about. And the great thing about this is, just like on YouTube, there's an option for comments, which means just like for the videos on here, you can also participate and give your 2 cents. So I'm going to leave a link to my page in the description, and I hope you check it out and follow it so you can be notified when my page gets updated. And if you haven't already, be sure to like this video, subscribe, hit that bell, and as always, until next time. If you liked this video and want to see more, check out this video of mine.